When one speaks of thrash metal royalty, few names echo louder than Tom Araya. As the frontman of Slayer, one of the most influential and aggressive bands in heavy metal history, Araya helped define the sound, aesthetic, and attitude of a genre that pushed the limits of speed, precision, and controversy. While Slayer's career spanned nearly 4 decades, it is the classic years, from the early 1980s through the early 1990s, that carved Tom Araya's name into metal history. This deep dive explores Araya's legacy during Slayer's most iconic era, the formation of the band, the genre-defining albums, his unique vocal presence, and the cultural and musical impact of his contributions. From Chile to California. Born Tomás Enrique Araya Diaz in Vina del Mar, Chile, on June 6, 1961, Araya moved with his family to the United States at a young age. He grew up in Southern California, where he was immersed in a diverse range of musical influences, from traditional Latin American music to hard rock and punk. Araya's older brother Rudy played drums, and the two bonded over music, eventually leading Tom to pick up the bass. Trained as a respiratory therapist before committing to music full-time, Araya brought a unique balance of discipline and fury to his musical career. This duality would become a defining trait in his onstage persona, controlled chaos, channeled through sheer intensity. The birth of Slayer. Slayer was formed in 1981 by Kerry King and Jeff Hanneman, and they soon recruited Tom Araya on bass and vocals. Dave Lombardo joined on drums, completing a lineup that would go down in history. The band quickly gained notoriety for their aggressive speed, dark imagery, and confrontational themes. From the outset, Araya's presence was commanding, though not the primary songwriter. That role fell largely to King and Hanneman. Araya's voice, charisma, and brutal bass lines became a cornerstone of the band's identity. His scream was primal, chilling, and unlike any of his peers in the burgeoning thrash scene. Show No Mercy, 1983, The Foundation. Slayer's debut album, Show No Mercy, was raw and chaotic, but carried the spark of something dangerous and new. Recorded on a tight budget, the album showcased Araya's early vocal style, shrill, snarling, and drenched in satanic imagery. Tracks like Evil Has No Boundaries and Die by the Sword introduced listeners to a vocalist who could bark, shriek, and chant like a demonic preacher. While the production was rough, the chemistry between the band members was undeniable. Araya's bass work, though not the focal point, held down the rapid-fire riffs with gritty precision. The album earned the band a cult following and set the stage for what was to come. Hell Awaits, 1985, Embracing the Dark. With Hell Awaits, Slayer ventured into even darker territory. The music became more complex, and Araya's vocals grew more confident and menacing. The title track, with its reversed demonic intro and songs like At Dawn They Sleep, showcased a vocalist who could move from guttural growls to high-pitched screams with terrifying ease. Araya's delivery on this album cemented his role as a true metal frontman. He was no longer just a bassist who sang. He had become a vocal force that personified Slayer's apocalyptic vision. Rain and Blood, 1986, the masterpiece. Widely regarded as Slayer's magnum opus, Rain and Blood is one of the most important albums in metal history. Produced by Rick Rubin, the album's sound was cleaner, faster, and more brutal than anything the band had released before. Clocking in at just under 29 minutes, Rain and Blood was a relentless assault. Araya's iconic opening scream on Angel of Death is still considered one of the greatest vocal introductions in metal. His delivery throughout the album is breathless, savage, and precise. Whether it's the snarling hatred of raining blood or the militant rhythm of Piece by Piece, Araya never lets up. This album solidified Slayer and Araya as global metal legends. It wasn't just the speed or the riffs. It was the unhinged sincerity in Araya's voice, the look of intensity on his face during live shows, and the fearless way he tackled controversial subjects. South of Heaven, 1988, The Evolution. Rather than simply replicate the chaos of Rain and Blood, Slayer took a more atmospheric and slower approach with South of Heaven. Araya adapted his vocal style accordingly, showcasing greater control, deeper tones, and a sense of ominous pacing. Songs like the title track, Mandatory Suicide, and their Judas Priest cover, Dissident Aggressor, revealed Araya's range. He wasn't just a screamer. He could channel dread, paranoia, and restraint when the music demanded it. This period also marked a shift in Araya's stage presence. He exuded more command and theatricality, balancing aggression with poise. Slayer was evolving, and Araya led that evolution with measured power. Seasons in the Abyss, 1990, Thrash maturity. With Seasons in the Abyss, Slayer found a perfect balance between the ferocity of rain and blood and the brooding atmosphere of South of Heaven. Araya's vocals reached a new level of maturity. The title track is a haunting masterpiece, with Araya delivering one of his most emotionally complex performances. Tracks like War Ensemble, Dead Skin Mask, and Skeletons of Society feature Araya at his most versatile. He could be militaristic, melancholic, or malevolent, all within the same song. His ability to embody the themes of each track, from war to psychosis, elevated Slayer's lyrical impact. The Seasons era also saw Slayer gain more visibility through MTV's Headbangers Ball and large-scale tours. Araya became a household name among metalheads, his voice instantly recognizable, his hair-whipping headbangs iconic. Live performances, commanding the chaos. Tom Araya's legacy is incomplete without mentioning his electrifying live performances. In the classic years, he stood center stage like a general leading troops in a battle. His presence was both magnetic and intimidating. He rarely needed to speak between songs. His facial expressions, screams, and sheer energy did the talking. When he did address the crowd, it was often with dry humor or a chilling whisper. The contrast between his brutal vocal delivery and his calm, almost polite speaking voice became part of his mystique. Few can match the physical endurance Araya displayed during Slayer's classic sets, night after night of relentless thrash, often with little rest between songs. His stamina and passion made him not just a frontman, but a warrior on stage. Controversy and censorship. Slayer was no stranger to controversy, and as the voice of the band, Araya was often at the center of media scrutiny. Lyrics dealing with Nazis, Angel of Death, serial killers, Dead Skin Mask, and anti-religious themes drew protests and boycotts. Araya, a practicing Catholic, often navigated these criticisms with thoughtfulness. He maintained that the band's lyrics were storytelling, not endorsements. His ability to embody dark themes on stage while separating them from his personal life showcased a level of artistic maturity. This duality, performer versus person, added depth to Araya's legacy. He wasn't just a shock rocker. He was a thoughtful artist using horror and history to provoke thought. Influence on vocalists and bassists. Tom Araya influenced an entire generation of metal vocalists. His ability to combine clarity with aggression helped define the vocal style of thrash metal. Singers in bands like Sepultura, Lamb of God, and Shadows Fall have cited Araya as an inspiration. As a bassist, Araya was solid and unflashy, anchoring the chaos rather than complicating it. His playing was tight, percussive, and relentless. In a genre often dominated by guitarists and drummers, Araya proved that a bassist could be both the backbone and the face of a band. Visual identity and stage persona. With his long, whipping hair, intense eyes, and wild head banging, Araya became one of the most visually recognizable figures in metal. He didn't wear corpse paint or elaborate costumes. His persona was built on pure energy and presence. His commanding stance, legs apart, bass low, eyes wide, became an archetype for thrash frontmen. Even in stillness, Araya projected a sense of imminent eruption, like a coiled storm ready to strike. The end of the classic era. While Slayer continued to release albums and tour well into the 2000s, the early 90s marked the end of what many consider the classic era. Albums like Divine Intervention, 1994, and God Hates Us All, 2001, had strong moments, but the raw intensity and mythos of the 80s and early 90s were unmatched. Araya's role in Slayer shifted slightly as the band aged. Neck surgery in the 2010s limited his headbanging, and the rigors of touring took their toll. Yet his voice remained powerful, and his presence undiminished. Legacy and reverence. Tom Araya retired from Slayer in 2019, closing the book on one of metal's most influential careers. Fans around the world mourned the end of an era, but celebrated a legacy that shaped thrash metal forever. Araya's impact lies not just in the albums or performances, but in what he represented: authenticity, intensity, and integrity. He never chased trends, never diluted the message. Through chaos and controversy, he stood firm, an unshakable pillar of metal. In the pantheon of metal gods, Tom Araya sits high, not just as the voice of Slayer, but as a symbol of thrash itself. His classic years with Slayer are more than history, they're legend. From the first scream of Angel of Death to the haunting chants of Seasons in the Abyss, Tom Araya gave metal one of its most enduring voices. His time with Slayer during the classic years remains a gold standard for what it means to be a frontman in extreme music: powerful, principled, and unforgettable.